All right, I am live, and I don't know where Jennifer is. Maybe she'll show up, maybe she won't. But I'm solo tonight. But the show must go on. So yeah, this is the after show for Finding Bigfoot for tonight's Finding Bigfoot episode. I just want to preface this by saying I might have some technical issues. I hope I don't, but everybody's just gonna have to bear with me, I suppose. Uh, Anyway, tonight's Finding Bigfoot. They went back to Louisiana. It was their third time in the Sportsman's Paradise, and it wasn't that bad of an episode. I mean, it was actually a pretty good episode. Uh, they uh, they went to Caddo Lake, which is where they filmed parts of Legend of Boggy Creek, but they also filmed Creature from Black Lake, which was a sort of a Squatch exploitation film back in 1976, which starred Jack Elam and Dub Taylor, who were veteran actors, veteran character actors at that time. Excuse me, bugs. But I mean, they now Kettle Lake is in the sort of the northwestern corner of Louisiana, and not very far from the Texas border, also not very far from the Arkansas border. So it's the Ark-La-Tex area. Uh, and they actually met with Lyle Blackburn, the author of The Beast of Boggy Creek and Lizard Man. And they were on a riverboat, and I've been on a riverboat, so really, it's a it's a great experience being on a riverboat. It's really fun. Um, but anyway, they they were asked, or they asked Lyle where would be a good area to go look for Sasquatch um, in the Kettle Lake region, and he gave them a few suggestions. Gave them one suggestion, so they went to an area. Excuse me, for their first night investigation, and Bobo for sure thought he had one on Therm, and it was not very far from he and Renee. But it turned out to be just, excuse me, a bit of machinery. But to the Therm, it did kind of look like a bipedal creature. It was pretty tall, pretty big. But it turned out to be just something mundane, and that was a bit of oil machinery, because there's oil tanks and things like that all through the area, especially in northwestern Louisiana, in eastern Texas as well. So really, that was about the only thing they really got going on that night, the first night investigation. So the next day, they held a town hall meeting, and they got three interesting reports from three witnesses, and they went and investigated those. The first encounter, Bobo talked to an individual who was out hunting near a pipeline, and this fellow said he saw this thing, which was about 8 foot tall and was pretty thick. We're talking about an individual that might have been, oh, maybe 600 to 800 pounds, perhaps. They didn't really say how thick it was as far as weight, but it was pretty darn thick, from what I understand. And in the "Are they credible" segment, I would give him a good bit of credibility, a 10. Mainly because there was a marker there that could determine how, as far as the thickness of it, there was a pipeline marker, and they were able to determine how thick this thing was. Height is a little bit more difficult to determine, but the bulk apparently was pretty substantial. So one thing they did was Cliff and Renee went investigating a lady who was out on a tractor in a pecan orchard, and lady apparently had a pretty high pecan sack, which came up to about the, I guess, maybe the waist, maybe a little bit taller on a human. She said she saw this creature bent over the sack and picking out pecans out of the sack, which would make sense. I think it would make sense for something like a Sasquatch to be picking out things like that, picking out pecans, easy food source. It was hard to determine the height. The height was a little bit trickier to determine because there was really nothing for scale other than the pecan sack. And Renee stood in for the Sasquatch and did this, much like Bobo did. That's how they did the scale items, or how they do the scale. And yeah, I'd say I would give that witness who said she saw this thing from 60 feet away, said it was tall and slender and it was a black color. I would give that witness about a 7. I mean, it may have happened, it may not have happened. I really can't say for sure. It was an interesting account nonetheless. And then the final witness that was interviewed by all three of the others, Moneymaker actually went camped by himself out in the Caddo Lake, the swamp region. And then they interviewed a fellow who, after dark, saw this thing shaking his pig trailer. He had a pig trailer with pigs in it. And said this thing was pretty tall and pretty. It was as far as he could determine it was a female because he said he saw breasts, and they didn't stick way out, but they were pretty substantial from what I understand, what the witness said. And the reason he could tell it was a female is because the shoulders were about the same height about the same width as the hips. Now, obviously, I mean, females may be a little bit easier to determine as to what they are. I give that guy about a 7 on the credibility scale. Now, they had Bobo stand in for the Sasquatch, and I would say that Bobo was trying to shake the trailer, wasn't really having a lot of success because apparently this Sasquatch, if that's what it was shaking this trailer, and it was pretty substantial. It was pretty substantially shaking it. So, Bobo and of course Bobo and Cliff were pretty well convinced he probably saw one. Renee, of course, wasn't so sure, but hey. Now, when Moneymaker was by himself, he was doing vocalizations, and he had a vocalization come back at him, which I suspect was most likely a coyote. It sounded a lot like a coyote. I think that's what it was. I think it was a coyote. And then after that, he went and met Cliff, Bobo, and Renee, and they decided to conduct the final night investigation in the area where this individual said he saw the thing shaking his pig trailer. So they had it was the fellow's nephew who had a pontoon boat. And they decided they were going to set up some equipment on the pontoon boat, some FLIRs and monitors and things like that. And they even had the R2D2 unit, which I've seen on some of the episodes of Finding Bigfoot, where it's a little camera that rotates, and you can put it on top of a car, you put it on top of a boat, or whatever. And it's a pretty interesting, nifty device, I have to say. And it can get I mean, we're talking about something that can get a 360-degree um, view of the area surrounding and the area around. I mean, it's. I think it's a really good. I think it's a good tool, a good device. So it was Cliff and Bobo on the boat, and Renee and Matt were out in the out in the offshore. They were on the shore in the forests, and they got a vocalization, interesting vocalization, which Cliff said was positively a Sasquatch. Matter of fact, most of them, of course, except for Renee, said it was positively a Sasquatch. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again: sounds are subjective. You really can't say what made a sound, what creature made a sound, unless you see the creature open its mouth, and that's just basic. That's just basic. What do you call it? Common sense. Not to say that they didn't hear a Sasquatch; they may very well have, but I can't say for sure. I mean, it was an interesting. It was an interesting vocalization. I'll put it that way. It was kind of like a howl or a what you might call. I mean, it was like a howl type vocalization. Um, but who knows? I mean, what it was the Sasquatch? It may have been. I don't think we'll ever know. Now, when Bobo and Cliff were in the boat, they heard some kind of a splash in the water, and Bobo kind of jokingly said, "Well, maybe that was a Sasquatch throwing a branch or a rock in the water, but they'll never." But he said, "We'll never know." So that was basically the gist of the episode. They didn't really get anything else. And now during the first night investigation, now Moneymaker had gotten something on a therm. He had seen something out of the corner of his eye on the therm, but he turned it on whatever it was too late. He thought, was it a Sasquatch or could it have been a bear? Uh, and there's no telling what it really. There's really no telling what it was. Could have been a bear, could have been a squatch. I mean, they have come fairly close. I have to say that. They have come fairly close a number of times without actually getting anything. But I mean, that's why the show is called Finding Bigfoot. If they were to find one, then the show would be over. It would be called Bigfoot Found. But no, this was a good episode. It was a pretty great episode. I've given it about an 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if anybody else, really enjoyed it or not, but this is the Looking for Bigfoot News Hour Finding Bigfoot After Show review, and this is my review of it. I don't know how Jennifer would say. I don't know what Jennifer would say because she's not here, and I wish she was. I'm doing this solo. Um, Maybe she had something to do today. It being Father's Day. By the way, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. I talked to my dad earlier, wished him a happy Father's Day. So, yeah, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Uh, Now, of course, we will be back next week. Next week, they're going to be in the Ozarks. I don't know if that's going to be Missouri or Arkansas because Ozarks do border Arkansas, Missouri, and even into Oklahoma. I would imagine probably Missouri, but I'm not really sure. But anyway, it should be an interesting episode. That'll be next week on Animal Planet, 10 Eastern, 9 Central. And we'll be back next week with the after show. Maybe I'll have somebody maybe Jennifer will be with us next week. Some fast plugs, some quick plugs. Of course, the SquatchUnlimited.org website is completely free to sign up with. Um, you don't have to pay a thing for that. Now, if you log into the encounters.squatchunlimited.org website, you do have to pay for that, unless you join the Facebook Team Squatch Unlimited page. Then you will get full free access to the database, the encounters, the Squatch Unlimited Encounters database. If you join the Facebook Squatch Unlimited group, so if you really want to get a good look at some of these awesome encounters, some of these past encounters, yeah, I would recommend going to joining the Facebook Squatch Unlimited Facebook page. We've talked about we've talked about the database before, which collects all of John Green's reports and puts them into one database, which I know was something that he and his daughter were attempting to do with SasquatchDatabase.com. But Rob and Melissa and all the other members of Squatch Unlimited have done an excellent job of collecting all these reports and making them accessible to the general public, which is tremendous. It really is terrific. They have done an excellent job. They really have on the database. By the way, yes, yeah, HBM's Crypto Corner is every 2 weeks now. We're going to have another one next week. I'm going to try to have some more news, some more news items for everybody. I'm sure there's probably going to be maybe a few, next week. Maybe something will happen next week. I don't know. But anyway, we want to thank you very much for tuning in tonight. We're sorry that it was just me by myself. Maybe Jennifer will join us next week. But we hope all you dads out there had a great Father's Day, and that your kids did something nice for you. And we want to thank you again for tuning in to this show. And I'm going to be doing the Looking for Bigfoot after show until I think it'll be July 12th. Yes, July 12th. We're talking about, I guess, 3 weeks, 3 more weeks. You'll be seeing my ugly mug doing this show in place of Shane. And then Shane will be back July 12th. The Breaking Bad cast will be back July 10th, by the way. We're going to talk about the episode Fly. We're also going to be bringing back, I'm sure, the Encounters Squatch Unlimited show, which will be on Saturday nights. So for a full weekend, we'll have Breaking Bad cast on Friday night, Encounters Squatch Unlimited show on Saturday night, and the Finding Bigfoot After show on Sunday night. So next week in the Ozarks, 10 Eastern, 9 Central, Animal Planet. Then we'll be right here, 11 Eastern, 10 Central, right after the show. So good night, everybody.